Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to our Finance Transformation Digital Summit. My name is Sally Fletcher, Head of Online Events for SSON, and I'm so delighted to be hosting this event today and tomorrow. So before we get started with our first very exciting session, you can see before you on the new normal for enterprise finance. So who are our speakers today? The great speakers that we've chosen to open the conference. We're really lucky to have them. First up, we have Florence Mui, the Senior Vice President and Head of GBS for Philips. Florence has over 20 years' experience in senior executive leadership roles in the area of business management, supply chain, manufacturing, procurement, IT, finance, development, engineering, and digital transformation. So she's done it all. She's led the GBS transformational journey in Philips, taking the fledgling GBS organization and bringing it to heightened levels of maturity and operational excellence. She's going to be joined by Vinay G Rao, the VP and Strategic Business Practice Head for F&A at Infosys BPM. Vinay has over 27 years' experience in finance, with over 17 years spent extensively in the practice of subjects such as accounts, audit, taxation, and corporate law. In his current role as Strategic Business Practice Head for the F&A practice, he manages over 14,000 F&A professionals working across 28 centres globally. So we're very lucky that he had the time to present today. And last but not least, we are also joined by his colleague Prasanth Nair, the Global Practice Engagement Leader for F&A GBS at Infosys again. Prasanth is an Associate Vice President, where he's been performing different roles for 14 years at Infosys. He's got over 20 years' experience in finance and accounting solutions design and delivery, and has wide experience across many, many different industries. Currently at Infosys, he leads the F&A and GBS transformation service globally. So three really, really fantastic speakers and experts to lead us in this presentation on the new normal for enterprise finance and how you can build finance resiliency and scale your business. Over to you, Prasanth.
Thanks, Sally. Thanks for the great intro. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to friends across the world. 1 year back, July 2020, I was talking to the CFO of a large manufacturing firm headquartered out of US with shared service centers across LATAM, Europe, and Asia Pac. When I was talking to him that time, his concern was primarily on how to save cash, how to survive for the next 3 months, how to take care of his people, how to keep them in the roles without making them redundant. He was actually really perplexed with those challenges at that point of time. Fortunately, I had the good luck of talking to him last month. The scenario was totally different. He was thinking about how to retain talent, how to attract talent, how to invest money in new acquisitions, in growing market share. So from 1 year back, when he was thinking about survival, now he's thinking about thriving. So the change from survival to thriving has been a dramatic shift in the finance GBS and the finance world itself. So today we thought we will spend some time with two great leaders to talk about how they have seen the finance GBS organization evolving to support this business and moving from surviving to thriving in the new normal. That's what we will be discussing. And like Sally mentioned, Flo, who is here with us, has been a great GBS leader, evolving finance GBS into the maturity that it is today. Flo, good afternoon. Can we talk about how Philips has been doing? Your results came out last week. I saw that it was a set of great results. Again, we could see the dichotomy in the business itself, right? You have grown at 9%, grown double digits in some of the business units, while degrown in some of the other business units. So how do you see the state of the business at this point of time?
Well, first of all, thank you having me being here. So love to have it. So we had a good result. We have a very solid result. Regardless of the challenges we have been embracing last year and the COVID also upcoming. The business intake is stronger. And at the same time, I think Philips has been moving into more structural way, like driving our operating system and our model to really bring to the standardizations and harmonization to integrate the Philips as an enterprise. So then we can better serve our customers. So I think that is the result showing. Of course, we have some other challenges we also announced, but overall, I think we're on the right track, and I'm very grateful that GBS is actually one of the 18 key transformation that we have in Philips, and we contribute either good times or bad times so that we can contribute and make better Philips, and then we can serve better to the customer. And maybe good to give you a bit of the perspective what we do in GBS. Maybe that will be something people may be interested. Again, first of all, people may be wondering, hey, we talk finance, why we have Flo here? Because I'm more the overall leader for GBS. But I think we need to unlock our imaginations here a little bit. So don't limit yourself on finance, because I learn a lot from my finance team, how we can leverage. In GBS, we are talking about business partnership, we are talking about drive, and we apply this concept for every single domain we're working on. So for example, today a majority discussion is digitalization. We're talking about innovations. We remove the silo from function. We're really looking from a customer perspective, the value chain, and finance play a very, very important role there. And credit collection, I like to call out, it play a very significant role into the customer experience. Then we're looking into process integration and how also we can, through the integration, generate more value, not only about just the cost reduction, but how we can bring more solution helping the business so they can grow, or they acquire business. You mentioned earlier about the M&A part, how we can play a role together, and then we can really grow the business and make our customer happier. And I think the engagement part, which is more related to the employees, this is what we spend a lot of time. You mentioned earlier also about the talent development. This is the core belief in GBS, also in Philips, how we are able to develop our talent and manage this talent so they can grow not only within our domain, but also cross-functional. So excited to share more with you, the team today.
Thanks, Florence. I don't think many of us had questions about whether a GBS leader is the right person to talk about finance transformation. As Philips being one of the leaders in finance transformation, along with GBS transformation, I think you are the right person to take us through that journey. If you can, again, I remember that while Philips had finance shared service centers from almost 20 years back, your GBS organization has evolved in the last 4 to 5 years. So how has that journey been, and where do you see the evolution of this finance GBS in the next few years?
So let me try to answer your questions. First, give a bit of the perspective, right? So we have shared service long time, mainly in Rouge or with emphasis doing some of the transactional work, but the real concept of GBS really signed off by the EXCO. It's back in end of 2016. So the idea is remove the silo of just the functional reporting and really try to make it in the integrated business services to support the Philips as a whole. As you can see from the background, we are growing from extremely high resistance and then growing to reset ourselves to bring it into the process structure, leverage. I have to say we leverage a lot of learning in the finance transformation, like the RPA, the transformation, the unlock imaginations, as I also mentioned earlier. So we leverage on that and grow further and expand this way of working to like supply chain, IT, and other domain. And we are now going into more than 5,000 employees this year. And I'm very proud to say we are 30% process now in Philips are actually operated and supported by GBS. If you're looking a bit forward, what are we aiming to do? It doesn't matter it's finance or GBS, because at the end we have the same goal. And I encourage also all the finance profession, don't think yourself just as a finance profession. And you also play a very key role, at least I position that we all play a very key role, how we make an impact to our customer and our consumer and our patient in our industry. So we have 3-phase approach. If you look at that, we are now already passed on the foundation critical mass. We're moving to the process excellence, driving process standardization, automations, etc., and innovation roadmap. A lot of GBS organization or finance, we typically look at a very specific tool, and specific use case. But in GBS, we apply in Philips, it implies we run like a business. So we have an innovation roadmap. and then what are the technology, the capability we would like to have, which makes sense to the business. And then at the end, we are transforming ourselves, become a service excellence organization. So we were really able to provide solution when a business wants to expand the business model. How can we help? And I think finance can play a very, very strategic role there, because then we can not only connect it to the operating process, but how we can leverage on finance to also put a lot of insight there on linking or integrating with the business process together. And on top of that, I do think that we have a lot of acquisitions going on, integrations going on, also new business model, new way of working. I think pandemic challenged us in a big time. And we are also, because of that, able to look talent from a much different perspective. Then we need to be physical. So a lot of things change and open up our mindset, our thinking. So we were able to leverage on technology to go to the next level. Last but not the least, I think is very important is we consider GBS in Philips is a transformation factory, or you can say a partner. So we don't only work on our own scope. We leverage on the cross capability like in finance, IT, supply chain service, etc. So we were in data analytic technology. We are able to partner with other functions when they are going through a transformation journey, and how we can help them be their partner, so we can bring bigger value to the business. So I think that is the new trend, in my humble opinion, and I really think finance will contribute more than just in their own domain. I really encourage to really allowing us to do not self-constrain ourselves, so we can grow further together, make a bigger impact.
Thanks. So finance partnering with the business is the key mantra, right? Ultimately, CFO is the next CEO. So from that perspective, I think that's where the focus should be. I know hyper-automation, you talked about automation. Hyper-automation is a key area of interest for you, and you have done some large key projects across automation and innovation. Maybe if you can just throw some lights on some of the key areas where you're trying to deliver innovation in the GPS space.
Yeah, so first of all, we start our innovation. So this is just a very high-level innovation roadmap, and to actually plan what are the key capability we would like to develop in the next couple of years, and also what are the potential application we can apply. Because GBS is so usually we are not going to invent a new technology. What typically do, we work with a partner, whatever is a technology partner or as a kind of BPO partner. So we leverage on that, and we leverage on the technology so we can build, create value or build a use case in that sense. So we start our journey doing RPA. So it's not because Infosys is here, but I will still call out. We were very grateful that we were able to find a partner in Infosys, because we start our first RPA journey with Infosys, and that has been great success. We already hit our 1 million hour savings. And then we build our internal capability. We still remain a very close relationship to leverage, because at the end, I think to enable the co-creation and grow in technology, I think the partnership is quite important. If you look at the roadmap, we are moving from a pure RPA board to more hyper-automation. So basically combining the workflow, process, and automation, and combined with other technology. We were quite excited about, for example, in some cases that in the tax part, how we can combine the translation with different language and do the tax submissions, and it will automate it by the whole way, but combining different technology available, but also building in the process. And then if you look at our credit collection, we also how we can use bots, but using chatbots, also other logic data analytic to do more predictive analysis, so we can do a customer segmentation, but at the same time, and then building machine learning, some of the AI even, so we can actually help our collector as a bot to collect the money. Then we can provide much better experience. Also can actually reach a bigger coverage as an example. I think there's so many examples we can do, but at the end, I think one of the core cautious point we want to call is we don't do innovation for the sake of doing innovation. We don't do automation for the sake of doing it. We are transforming ourselves to be more an outcome-driven organization. So always it needs to link either to the customer or the business benefit. When you do that link, and then the innovation roadmap become more impactful. Now we talk about hyper automations. We also working very hard on data analytics, transforming ourselves by data mining, data science to more predictability. And also then one day we can also combine the AI linking to other technology. Then we can really make life easier. Like process mining itself may not make a lot of sense, but if you combine with other technology, then you can really provide a lot of insight, including like compliance control, including process control, or a control tower. That's just a very high-level example that I would like to share. And I'm grateful we have quite a few good partners we're working with, and we are continuing this journey and excited to hear more of the audience what other thoughts they can share as well. Thanks.
Thanks, Flo. So again, transformation in a way with a purpose, if I might call that, right? Transformation not being the end, but just a means for the business outcome and business partnering. That's very insightful. Sally, I would like at this point of time maybe to pick the views from the audience, their priorities as GPS and finance leaders when they think about the future of this, future of their business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, audience, we want to hear from you. So we want to hear, what is today's GBS all about? So what is really your top priority for GBS? Is it organizational agility, driving enhanced digitization, leveraging the global footprint in the smartest possible way, driving a culture that enhances thinking capability? So once again, what do you think today's GBS is all about? Organizational agility, driving an enhanced digitization, leveraging the global footprint in the smartest possible way, or driving a culture that enhances thinking capability? So put the answer that most closely resembles your organization and press submit. I'll give you a few seconds to do that. So let's have a look what our answers are. Fantastic. Okay, yes, Prasanth, what do you think about that?
Yeah, this is something that I think we also thought the view would be from different, what we are hearing from the market in a way. And this is a good segue for actually Vinay also to react on this particular topic. And again, Vinay, I know Infosys has been leading on what we call as live enterprise to transform the clients into the similar journey. So what is live enterprise? Maybe for the larger audience, if you can explain, how do you see that transforming the finance landscape, that will be great.
Yeah, thanks, Prasanth. I think that before I really get into the elements of what live enterprise is, let's just break this live enterprise into two components, live and enterprise, right? Enterprise is all about, a group of people or things. And if you look at connecting this group of people to systems, then you have the mind power on one side, that is the human brain, and you have the digital brain on the other side, right? When they are connected together, it starts emanating signals like, which are a set of responses that you're looking for, a set of learnings. Using that learnings, you're building value and solutions that can make that enterprise more energetic, more futuristic, and look at a live enterprise, right? And if you just go back to time, you have the internet boom that you had social media, you have a set of technologies that have emerged, AI, ML, blockchain, Internet of Things. All of these have now converged into one ecosystem. But at the other end, you also have smarter customers, smarter employees, whose expectation is to go beyond sustainability and look at value creation, right? And that ability of live enterprise to bring the three aspects that I'm going to talk about. One is pervasive experience. Now you sit on a sofa and you're able to, order an Alexa to do certain things for you, instructions and commands. The way you travel, through Uber, Ola, completely different experience. So how do you bring this pervasive experience in a finance organization? if you look at intuitive decisions, it is about, talking of an incident, predicting that incident before it happens rather than something which is detected after it happens, right? So, and you're also looking for prescriptive solutions to meet that. That is what is important when it comes to intuitive decisions. And then you have a responsive value chain. Let me just give you an example. Say there is an accident that happens, right? The physical location of that accident that happened is really about the digital side of it. That is your real time. You're looking at zero latency. That is, you're looking for information of that incident almost live as it just immediately after it happened. What if scenarios, instant simulation, and then you want a feedback on it. So this is what is called as, the experience, value response, as well as the perception. If this is what live enterprise represents, then there are 5 components that it really should look like, right? The first is connected. Connectivity within an ecosystem is extremely important. It could be through universal business language. It could be through network of networks. The important thing is that you're bringing together a set of things which will help in things. If you look at what we did for an American telecom company, we have been able to connect about 7 ERP systems, 500 users. We've been able to also look at processing about $80 billion of payments and 400,000 transactions through that platform that we have things. So you're really looking at moving the whole ecosystem to be completely connected. Network of network, as we call it. The second is how agile the organization should be. You should be able to collaboratively and iteratively respond to any decision making that you're going to take. Your processes should be agile in the sense, for example, it could be touchless processing significantly, right? And you're looking at how we can bring value to time. The solutions that you deploy should give you a return of investment, which is early. For example, Florence talked of the partnership that Infosys had with Philips on the RPA side. If somebody told you that in 18 months we would deploy about 550 to 600 bots, people would laugh. But then that's what happened. And that was because of the kind of partnership that we had where Philips showed the appetite for change management and we brought in the solutions and we partnered together. So that is really agility, right? And hyper-automation is something which Florence talked. There are a lot of emerging technologies. You're moving away from workflows and platforms, etc., from a brick and mortar to a platform-based organization. A lot of blockchain, a lot of Internet of Things. You can look at number of repeatable cases so that you can plug and play and quickly deploy those solutions. So it could be a microbot stable, it could be AI log blocks, you name it, right? And then the important thing that an organization in a live enterprise will have is sentience, its ability to sense, learn, and adapt. Let me take the example of continuous compliance. You are actually embedding your system at the source data, where the transaction is happening. When a person on the floor processes the transaction, you are getting a false positive or a negative immediately. You then ask for a number of such instances, you get to learn from it. And then you adapt and build solutions which ensure a preventive compliance. That is really called as, what we do as compliance monitoring in this. And the last one is really about reimagined experience, right? Everybody wants real time. You're going for a walk in the park and you have, you're able to, approve an invoice maybe on your phone, on your watch. Today in the COVID world, you have so many self-service interfaces which are helping you to transact and close financial transactions sitting at home. So the sum total of all of these 5 components bring alive an enterprise and make them futurist, if that answers your question.
Thanks, Vinay. That is really insightful. So a live finance organization to partner the business requirement, like Flo mentioned. It's about being agile, it's being about sentient, it's being about hyper. So interesting. Vinay, again, when a CFO looks at this, right, like I talked about the CFO of a US manufacturing company. So what are the benefits that they derive from such a live and agile organization?
Yeah, see, there are two parts to it, right? One is the business as usual, the integrity of and accuracy of financial data, maybe data privacy, more and more automation, more and more analytics. These are things which are given and which come through other solutions as well. But what is Live Enterprise doing is that it is making an organization, a CFO organization, to look at value, look at strategy, look at future. So it's making you ready for the future with solutions that are available and thought through, keeping the future in mind, right? The second is in a world where increasing digitization and settlement of financial transactions means the potential for fraud is very high. And there, the preventive compliance, that concept that it is bringing at the source data level, helps people to sleep in peace. That's a big factor of Live Enterprise. Third is the CFO becomes the network or the hub or the nerve center for connectivity, right? Connecting employees, customers, stakeholders, because the whole system is connected in an ecosystem, bringing all of them to one place. So it becomes the nerve center, he or she, of that particular thing. The other demand of any CFO is really about real time. How can you, at a click of a button, can you tell me what is your profit loss account, balance sheet, or your cash flow, or working capital? The real-time component that is available in a Live Enterprise makes that a huge, another asset for it. And the last but not the least, if you look at the four things that I talked of, the sum total of that is that the promoter score is going to be maximized, which means you're making the CFO look better in their ecosystem. Right? So I think that this is what is the value that you can expect from a Live Enterprise.
Yes, that makes sense, Vinay. Especially, for the audience, just before we got onto this call, as we were joining in, Flo was mentioning that nowadays going for an offsite means going to office, right? Because your base office has become your home. So with that environment where people are working anywhere, anytime, Live Enterprise definitely has a lot of importance. I would request Sally to take a snap poll from the audience on what do they think is most important from a Live Enterprise in their perspective. What do they think is the most important for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So our second poll, we want to know that given your understanding of LE and the state of the organization, which of this is a greater imperative? To be connected, to be agile, hyper-automated, sentient, or reimagining your experience. So which of these really is the greater imperative behind LE, the Live Enterprise? Is it to be connected, to be agile, hyper-automated, sentient, or reimagining the experience? So please put in the answer that responds best to you and press submit. And just to remind you, we'll shortly be going into the Q&A portion of our session. So please do pop your questions for our speakers into the Q&A box. They're here live, and we'll make sure to answer as many of those questions as possible. Okay, I'll give you 5 more seconds to answer that poll. 3, 2, 1. Let's have a look. Brilliant. Okay, another time, very even spread. I think reimagined experience and agility being the top rated. Very, very important to you guys.
Yeah, so this is really eye-opening in a way, right? So as you can think, I can see that all of us have moved from the focus on resilience to experience for stakeholders. So I think consumeristic experience is something that everybody expects from, be it GBS, be it finance organization, be it any enterprise function. So that seems to be number one. And agility, definitely, with the businesses changing as fast as it is, With multiple COVID waves, supply chain resiliency, agility seems to be the second most important point. Very insightful. Thank you, audience, for this. Again, and thank you, Flo and Vinay, for giving us a great perspective on how the purpose of transformation of GBS is important in this new normal. And Vinay, you talked about live enterprise enabling us to deliver to that purpose of being a true business partner. Now let's actually move on to any questions, Sally, that might have come from the audience at this point of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much to all of you for that really fantastic presentation. It's really cool to hear about the innovation going on with Philips and the, hyper automation, the process, the digitization that you're doing, all with a purpose. So thank you for sharing that with us. Right, let's have a look what our audience asked. Okay, brilliant. So the first question has come in from Dominic, and Dominic's asking, I'll direct this to you, Flo. What is most important for you as a finance leader while planning for future strategy?
So first, thank Dominic. What's the most important? We always talk about the most important thing is what are the impact we want to make to the business, right? So what are the impact we want to make for the customer and also for the business? And as the finance, I think if I'm a finance leader, I think visibility to me is the most important. And when we talk about visibility, and I'm also talking about scenario and sensitivity analysis. Right now, I think most of it is done manually. And if I have a visibility, if I can also put different options, leveraging on data analytic, I think that could be something interesting for me. If I were a finance leader, how would I help and use those capabilities to bring in more value to the senior executive in the organization? And I would caution the team, don't think yourself as just a finance, but think about you are the finance business partner. So you are the business partner to the business. I'd like to call out an example. He's not in this call, but he's my boss, who is the CFO of the company, Abhijit. I'm sure the Infosys know him very well. Of course, he's a very strong leader, is a finance, but he knows the business very, very well. And he steers the business decision, not a finance decision. So I think if you want to be successful, you need to get hold of this information, either it's finance or non-finance, so you can be a business partner to steer the business, whoever they are, and make to grow. That would be my humble 2 cents.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having that kind of information that gives you a broader perspective is absolutely vital. In the past, it's just been the person that shouts the loudest in the meeting is the person's strategy we follow. But now with all this visibility at your fingertips, it's really, really important for informing future business strategy and plans. A question that's come through for Vinay, and this question comes from Salim. Salim is asking, how has COVID impacted transformation plans of various GBS heads or CFOs? Is there anything that you can shed light on there?
Initially, there was an impact, and nobody can hide away from that because there was so much uncertainty around. But I think that organizations have shown resilience to, fight back, to survive, and evolve in the COVID period, right? And some of the largest growth of enterprises has happened in the last 12 months. Some of the largest transformation projects has happened. For example, Infosys itself, for a logistic company, delivered about 320 Blackline license project, right? And I think that the good thing about this is that it has not slowed down the appetite for change or risk. Yes, people are still a little cautious when it comes to things. And again, you've got to divide between, enterprises which are highly impacted, moderately impacted, or lowly impacted, right? The highly impacted are obviously going to be very cautious about their cash flow as well as return on investment, while the others are, going about business as usual. But the point is, I think with service providers like us, organizations have looked at continuing the transformation journey unhindered. And I believe that now with some kind of a respite, we are only going to further add value to that.
Brilliant. Yeah, I definitely hope so. A question that's come through for Flo is from Sankara. Sankara's asking, says, thank you, Flo, for your perspectives on GBS and leadership. And it's asking, do you have a lot of cross-functional talent movement from and to finance?
Yes, actually. That's a good question, because I think now GBS, we always should also talk about the talent management. We do have very active talent exchange rotations or growth between different domains. For example, we have a finance leader actually went through to the supply chain, and from supply chain, and then went through to transitions, and then now going back to the finance. So actually, we sponsor this rotation quite heavily, but also structurally. And it helped because at the end, what I believe the best finance business partner can do is they are not only having the experience in the finance, but they actually understand how the business work, could be upstream, downstream, and different domain. And we fundamentally sponsor these directions.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think it's really fantastic for employee experience and for retention, which we used to see as a big problem for the shared service, but with these kind of schemes really allows people to develop and stay. Prasanth, I'm going to ask you a question now. I hope that's okay. And that's come through from Rajiv. Rajiv is asking, after COVID time, how has automation and RPA changed? How's the thinking around automation and RPA changed?
So earlier, automation and RPA was something which was required for cost reduction or continuous improvement. And from that perspective, that has changed. That has now become a basic necessity in the new digital one office environment that we are working with, correct? Earlier, there were two sets of companies. There were digital natives, the Googles, the Yahoos, the Facebooks, and there were digital naives, the legacy large manufacturing companies and others who had a digital front office but never had a digital back office. Now, all these companies have pivoted to what is called as digital one office to ensure that they are able to operate in the new normal, the virtual environment, right? So this has become an imperative. Now, the prioritization of some of the projects might have changed, like Vinay mentioned, but this is something which is not optional. It is a must-have for all the companies at this point of time.
Yeah, so kind of the basic requirement, and now we can do things like hopefully what Philips have done with their cognitive and their hyper-automation and go to the next step. Really cool. A couple more questions we've got time for. Let's have a look. Question for you, Flo, come through from Santosh. And Santosh is asking, what is the role of suppliers in your GBS transformation?
We don't call them suppliers. We call them partners. First of all, I think we need to rephrase it. As I mentioned earlier, we do not treated our service provider, if you use the technical terms, as a supplier only. We really want to team up with them, leverage their capability, because our belief is very clear. We do not believe everything need to do in-house. I think 1 + 1 = 3. So we leverage on the external partner and become our strategic partner, so we can grow together and we help each other, so that they are having some very strong strength, which Philips might take a lot of time to develop, and it makes more sense to just leverage on that and also leverage on that scale. Can be technology, can be some transactional work or some of the work. Also, we use also some of the partner to actually brainstorm our digital revolutions. So I think that is the way we do. Particular one example is we are working with one of the functions going through a big transformation initiative. What GBS play a role is we become a transformation partner. So we work with external partner to create a total solutions so that we can help this function to transform to create better customer product quality and compliance.
Yeah, brilliant. I think sadly, I could talk to you guys all day, but I think sadly that's all we've got time for. So thank you so much for taking the time to put together your presentation and deliver it today. We so appreciate it. And to everyone else, I know a couple of you had additional questions. I will pass them to our speakers, so don't worry about that. I'm sure they'll get back to you with more detail on email later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.